Welcome back to Insuring Hotels and Other Types of Accommodation Risks. In this video, we're going to talk about some of the ways to handle incidental liquor liability exposures that you will find with many hotels. So welcome back. In this video, we're not going to be talking about traditional liquor liability exposures that you might find at a restaurant or bar that's located at a hotel. Rather, in this, we're going to be talking about incidental liquor liability exposures that you might find at a hotel that caters to business travelers, such as maybe a Homewood Suites or Residence Inn or things of that nature. And two of the primary incidental liquor liability exposures that you will find at these hotels are, first, managers' receptions, where people or guests staying at the hotel can go down to the lobby and they can sample some free beer and wine and maybe some snacks and maybe even something that could even serve as dinner. And also too, most hotels you find they'll have a little kiosk where you can buy, some minor amount of food, and they also in a cooler maybe have a few bottles of beer or some white wine or maybe even some red wine. So those are the two exposures that you're likely to find in hotels. Let's spend a moment on the liquor liability exclusion that is in the general liability policy. It excludes liability arising out of contributing to the intoxication, furnishing alcoholic beverages to somebody who's illegal drinking age, or violation of any statute such as dram shop laws. However, the exclusion only applies to businesses in the business of manufacturing, distributing, selling, serving, or furnishing of alcohol beverages. Now, if we think about the kiosks, they are definitely selling an alcoholic beverages. If you're thinking about the manager's reception, they are furnishing alcoholic beverages. So in all likelihood, the liquor liability exclusion as it stands in the CGL policy will still apply. ISO actually lays out three options to cover incidental liquor liability exposures. The first would be to purchase liquor liability coverage. They do have an option to delete the liquor liability exclusion. And thirdly, they have a couple of options where they could modify the liquor liability exclusion. If you wish to go the route of buying the traditional liquor liability coverage, there's two potential forms. There's CG 0033, which is on an occurrence basis, and CG 0034, which is on a claims made basis. The advantage of purchasing specific liquor liability coverage is it provides a separate limit for liquor liability claims. However, it can carry a significant minimum premium to cover that incidental exposure. The second option to follow would be to delete the liquor liability exclusion. And ISO does provide an avenue to do that by utilizing their own endorsement, CG2408. And if you look at that below, it basically removes the liquor liability exclusion. Now, having done that, it will also, any claims that fall that would ordinarily be liquor liability would be included inside the GL limits. Now, the advantage of that is that there would be a minimal premium charge for this. Some underwriters may want to make an additional charge. They don't actually charge for the endorsement, but what they do is they would make an adjustment on the overall pricing on the account. The third option would be to modify the exclusion, and ISO provides a couple of endorsements to try to achieve that. One endorsement is CG 2150, the other is CG 2151, and we'll talk about both those endorsements in a moment. But both endorsements, they modify how the liquor liability exclusion is applied. CG 2150, it modifies how the liquor liability exclusion applies. And it applies to, number one, manufacturers, sellers, distributors of alcoholic beverages. Also applies if the insured serves or furnishes alcoholic beverages for a charge, whether or not such activity requires a license or is for the purpose of financial gain or livelihood. And also applies to serving or furnishing of alcoholic beverages without a charge if a license is required for such activity. And finally, it applies if they permit any person to bring alcoholic beverages on their premises for consumption on their premises. So I would not necessarily recommend this route to go, because in items number 2 and 3, there's still a lot of ambiguity. And I think if you looked at those and applied them to the actual situation, more than likely you would find that the liquor liability exclusion would still apply. The second route to modify the liquor liability exclusion, I believe, is a much easier and more effective way to do it. And it basically allows the insured to schedule some exceptions for the liquor liability exclusion. For instance, the exclusion would not apply to BI or PD arising out of the selling, serving, furnishing of alcoholic beverages at the specific activity described in the schedule. In the example of the manager's reception, they could include in that schedule manager's receptions, and if you also wanted to cover maybe the incidental sales at their market kiosk, they could also do that and schedule that as well. So this is actually a more effective way to really handle that incidental liquor liability exclusion. And it's something too that an underwriter can actually be more granular as far as what they're actually allowing the insured to do. So to recap, many hotels do have an incidental liquor liability exposure even if they don't have restaurants or bars. The liquor liability exclusion would still apply. And the ways to handle that would be: 1, they could add liquor liability, or 2, they could delete the exclusion, or they could modify the exclusion to cover specific exposures by utilizing endorsement CG 2151. In the next video in this series, we will be delving into handling other types of special hazards. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to like it and subscribe to future videos. If you have any questions about the subject matter in this video, please leave them in the comments section below, or email us at richard.uwresource@cox.net. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. The subject matter in this video is approved for CE credits in several states and available for in-house classes. If you are interested in scheduling an in-house CE session, please contact us via email at richard.uwresource@cox.net. And thank you for watching this video.